Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to Bali Room Hotel Indonesia Kempinski, Jakarta. First of all, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Andrea Lee, and I will be your host for this special event of signing ceremony of Team Europe support to PT SMI European Union blending projects with KFW and AFD. Can I have one big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for our special event today? Thank you very much. And I would like to take this opportunity to greet the honorable guest who came here this afternoon. His Excellency Vincent Piquet, as the Ambassador of the European Union to Indonesia and Brunei Darussalam. His Excellency Olivier Chambord, as the Ambassador of France to Indonesia. Ms. Angela Tormin, as the Country Director of KFW Indonesia. Mr. Emmanuel Baudron, as the Country Director of AFD Indonesia. His Excellency Dr. Peter Skov, as the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany to Indonesia, represented by Mr. Thomas Graf as Deputy Head of Mission. Bapak Edwin Syahruzad, as the President Director of PT Sarana Multi Infrastruktur Persero. Bapak Darwin Trisna Jayawinata, the Operation and Finance Director of PT Sarana Multi Infrastruktur Persero. Bapak Muhammad Gozi Indra Dalel, as Project Development and Advisory Director of PT Sarana Multi Infrastruktur Persero. And also, welcome to our honored guests who joined the event virtually via Zoom, Mr. Christian Kramer, as KFW Director for East and Southeast Asia. Bapak Isa Rahmat Tarwata, as Director General of State Assets, Ministry of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia. Bapak Mahendra Siregar, as Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia and President Commissioner of PT Sarana Multi Infrastruktur Persero, with all Board of Commissioners of PT SMI. To all respected guests from SDG Indonesia One Partners and other fellow participants. Ladies and gentlemen, proceeding to today's event of signing ceremony, we will start the event by singing Indonesian National Anthem, Indonesia Raya. Attendants, please rise. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, kindly be seated. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, preceding our agenda today, we will hear welcoming remarks and keynote speech from our distinguished guests. And first, please welcome His Excellency Vincent Piquet as the Ambassador of the European Union to Indonesia and Brunei Darussalam. Kindly come forward to the stage. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, Ambassador Vincent Piquet.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Master of Ceremony. Dear colleagues, I greet very warmly all the participants that Madam Master of Ceremony has mentioned, notably, of course, the Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs and the President Commissioner of PT SMI, Mr. Isa Rahmatarwata, the Director General of State Assets from the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Edwin Sayyarazat, President Director of PT SMI. Very warmly greet, of course, my colleague, Ambassador de France, Olivier Chambard. Olivier, I greet Ambassador Peter Schoof of Germany, Ms. Angela Turmin, the KFW Country Director, and Monsieur Emmanuel Baudron, AFD Country Director, Indonesia. Now, we have a wonderful occasion today of, that is to say, the launch of the Team Europe support to the PT-SMI. I'm very happy that we could come together today to sign and launch these two very important projects. Now, this is Team Europe. Team Europe is the EU, represented by me, but also is the EU member states. And the development banks of the member states all coming together for one purpose, and that is to mobilize jointly our support to partner countries around the globe. Now, we started that approach at the beginning of the pandemic crisis, when the EU and the member states together have put together a package of no less than 36 billion euros for global action in the fight against the virus and its effects. For Indonesia, Team Europe has raised a total of 200 million euros, 20 million euros in the form of grants coming from the EU, and 180 euros in the form of loans coming from Germany and France for the healthcare sector. Now, it's really great to see that we are able as a EU to render direct support where it is most urgently needed, where we can help our partner, Indonesia, in facing up to the pandemic, and where we can produce real benefits for the citizens of this great country. By supporting the social infrastructure of Indonesia and by investments in the healthcare sector. One tool Indonesia has available for its response to these tasks is the SDG Indonesia One platform. A wonderful platform that has the capacity to boost infrastructure development oriented towards the sustainable development goals. It will promote investment in clean energy, clean technologies, and technologies that are less carbon intensive, less resource intensive. The SDG Indonesia One platform brings together the responses to all the challenges that I just mentioned, and we are therefore, as Team Europe, very happy to join up with you for the with development banks of Germany and France and the EU budget to support you as well as PT-SMI and contribute to your work. Today we're signing two large new projects in terms of grants from the EU budget, 22 million euros of grants, and they are linked to loans from AFD, Agence France de Développement, and KFW, Krediet für Wiederaufbau, totaling no less than 500 million euros in terms of loans, 8.5 trillion Indonesian rupiahs. Projects, I will not describe them in detail, we'll hear about them later in the afternoon, but very essential activities for dealing with the COVID crisis and for supporting a green recovery from it. Also, very happy to note the direct support also to PT SMI in developing its mandate against in the combat against coronavirus and in transforming itself into a real pillar for greening the Indonesian economy and for becoming Indonesia's national development bank. Now, this is just a start, these two projects, very important projects, but they are only a start of what we will be doing together in our vision for the time to come. The EU is developing its new cooperation framework globally, but also towards Indonesia, and we will be rolling out that new approach from next year onwards. But one thing is very certain, that we will continue to link the EU grant money with lending by the member state development banks and create tremendous leverage in that way. Today we have KFW and the ADF from France and Germany. Tomorrow there will be other member states joining in as well. I should also mention that the European Investment Bank, the EU's lending arm, so to say, will also become more operational in Indonesia from the next year onwards, with a lending mandate that foresees 300 million euros worth of lending per year for Indonesia. And I know that the EIB is already in contact with PT SMI and with the SDG Indonesia One platform. Now, this is a long-term relationship that we're setting up, looking also beyond the COVID crisis towards the economic recovery, the green recovery. We want to build back better, as the government also stresses, and President Jokowi also stresses time and again, in order to make sure that the economy of Indonesia and society as a whole becomes resilient to future shocks, and that it becomes sustainable and green. We have to consider the climate crisis, which behind the pandemic is of course galloping ahead. We face this in Europe, and one can see exactly the same in Indonesia. In Europe, as you may know, the European Union is and the member states are beginning to roll out our Green Deal, the European Green Deal, a roadmap that will make our economy and our society truly sustainable, circular and carbon neutral by the year 2050. This will also incorporate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals by the year 2030 for Europe now. In that effort, evidently, we wish to partner with Indonesia, a major partner in Asia, in Southeast Asia in particular, on the same along the same track. Also think about the role of private sector, of trade and investment. More trade, we know, and better trade will help the green recovery, and that is why Indonesia and the EU are negotiating the free trade agreement called the CEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, and our economists have calculated that the CEPA will produce extra growth for this country, and not less than 5 billion euros extra growth per year once the SEPA gets into full operational mode. And this will support jobs, it will support growth, it will support resilience, because it will promote private sector engagement, including by the European firms that are already in Indonesia. There are about 1,100 firms based here already now. More are to come, I'm sure. But already right now, the European companies in Indonesia employ 1.5 million people. The SEPA will evidently expand this tremendously. And doing that, we will also bring European know-how, European technology to Indonesia, translating into green and sustainable growth. I conclude by saying once again that Indonesia is a very important partner for the EU. We wish to strengthen the cooperation, to strengthen the partnership for the long run. And today's launch of the two important projects is very much a milestone in doing so. I congratulate the teams that have put the projects together, the loans and all the negotiations and the development. Fantastic work. And I wish PT SMI and all partners on the Indonesian as well as the European side every success in realizing today's agreements. Terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih banyak. Thank you very much, His Excellency Vincent Piquet, for the welcoming remarks. You may return to your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, next we will hear a speech from the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany to Indonesia, which represented by the Deputy Head of Mission, Mr. Thomas Graf. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Thomas Graf.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon. It's a great honor to speak to you on behalf of Ambassador Schof, who sends his best greetings to you all today. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you all on the signing of the grant and project implementing agreement for the program Support for Infrastructure Investments in Indonesia, S4I, between PT SMI and KFW, as well as on the signing of the contribution agreement between the European Union and AFD to accompany AFD's second credit line to PT SMI. And I should add that it gives me particular pleasure to see, as Ambassador Pickett already pointed out, to see Team Europe in action today. The European Union and two member states joining forces in a joint endeavor in our host country. Both agreements to be signed today highlight the importance of the new Sustainable Infrastructure Financing Instrument, SDG Indonesia 1. They show the ambition of all parties involved to work together to achieve sustainable development in Indonesia through better and environmentally friendly infrastructure. The EU contribution to S4I, which amounts to 16 million euros, complements the German-Indonesian bilateral development cooperation well. Saying this, I have in mind, in particular, Germany's Green Infrastructure Initiative, with Indonesia, which foresees commitments of 2.5 billion euro for better public transportation, waste management, as well as fresh water provision and wastewater treatment. It addresses, we believe, the challenges of climate change and Indonesia's transformation towards a green economy. The S4I initiative's priority sectors, renewable energies and infrastructure in particular, will be supported through developing possible bankable projects in these fields. They too could potentially be financed through funds to be committed by the German government. PT SMI, as mandated state-owned enterprise for infrastructure financing, has a very relevant role, not only for the implementation of the S4I project specifically, but also for potential future financial cooperation beyond this project, particularly regarding climate-related infrastructure investments. The Regional Infrastructure Development Fund, RIDF 2, is an excellent instrument to provide municipalities and subnational governments with improved access to financial resources. If we can agree to continue our cooperation for green infrastructure next year in our government-to-government negotiations on development cooperation, we could support the second phase of RIDF through possible co-financing with the World Bank and AIIB in 2021. This would be a promotional loan provided by KFW. But now, we are looking forward to successful implementation of S4I and further fruitful cooperation to achieve for common achievements in this field. Step by step, we will work towards our common goal of efficiently addressing challenges of climate change in Indonesia by modernizing infrastructure, making it more sustainable, thus ensuring a better quality of life for all the people in this country. I thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas Graf. Ladies and gentlemen, next, please welcome His Excellency Olivier Chambard as the Ambassador of France to Indonesia to kindly deliver the welcoming remarks. His Excellency Olivier Chambard, the time is yours.
I have to bring back the mic to human proportions. Dear colleagues and friends, dear Pa Edwin, President Director of PT's SMI, dear PT SMI directors, dear Vincent, Ambassador of the European Union, dear Thomas Graf, Chargé d'Affaires of Germany, dear representative of KFW, dear representative of AFD, Ibu Ibu, Baba Baba. On behalf of France, I am really pleased to be with you today for the signing of this financial agreement between the Agence Française de Développement, like is working, yes, and the European Union and PT Sarana Multi-Infrastructure. I'm pleased, firstly, because this signing shows how France, Europe, and Indonesia reinforce their partnership to reach the Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Agreement. The definition of SDGs and the signing of the Paris Climate Agreement have shown the commitment of our countries, France, Indonesia, Germany, to address present and future development concerns. And we are celebrating in a few days the 5th anniversary of the Paris Agreement. The achievement of SDGs and the implementation of Paris Agreement require concrete actions on the ground and a very important mobilization of funds to finance investments. With more than 300 million euros committed every year by the French Development Agency, France is one of the most important bilateral partners of Indonesia and helping this country to achieve the SDGs and implement the Paris Agreement. But I believe that together with other European institutions, the Team Europe is making the difference to address complex issues. I'm pleased also because France believes in cooperation between public development banks to finance concrete actions aiming at reaching the SDGs and the Paris Agreement. France and Germany share a long history of mobilization of public development banks. The French Caisse des dépôts et consignations has been created more than 200 years ago. The AFD has been created in 1941, while the KFW has been created in 1948. Those institutions have strongly contributed to the development of Europe and to the development of partner countries. France considers that public development banks can even play a more important role in the current period. Paris held the first summit of public development banks on November the 12th, organized by AFD under the high patronage of the French president. And we have seen the importance of the action of the 450 public development banks in the world, more than 2,000 billion US dollars disbursed every year, which represents 10% of the total worldwide investment. In their joint declaration, the public development banks have called for more cooperation to finance investments in line with SDGs and fight against climate change. The ceremony shows that this cooperation between public development banks is very strong in Indonesia, and I'm glad that the European Union is very active to support them. I wish the funds allocated will be fruitful in terms of public and private investments in Indonesia, and I wish this partnership between AFD, KFW, European Union and PT-SMI will reinforce the link not only with France, but with the whole Team Europe with the Republic of Indonesia. Terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih. Thank you very much, His Excellency Olivier Chambard. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have Mr. Christian Kramer as the Director of KFW for East and Southeast Asia to deliver his welcoming remarks virtually via Zoom.
Welcome from Frankfurt, Germany. It's my sincere pleasure to take part in the joint signing ceremony today. I believe that the participation of the EU, French and German ambassador, as well as the participation from the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the media underline the importance of the agreements signed today and mark a great beginning for their implementation. A special thanks goes to PT-SMI for organizing the hybrid signing ceremony today. We see the S4I project as an important cornerstone to promote SDG Indonesia 1 and the transition towards a green economy. In this sense, a part of the S4I funds will be used for the project development facility to prepare bankable infrastructure investments for future financing, which we stand ready to support through possible commitments by the German government. We are very much looking forward to a successful implementation of S4I with PT-SMI. At the same time, we are also looking forward to continuing our excellent cooperation with AFD and working closely together in implementation the IAF-funded projects. I will now hand over to my distinguished colleague, Mr. Baudron from AFD, for welcoming remarks. Thank you very much for your attention, and once again, nice regards from Frankfurt, Germany. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Christian Kramer, for taking your time to joining us today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Mr. Emmanuel Baudron as the Director of AFD Indonesia. Mr. Emmanuel Baudron, the time is yours.
Excellency, the Ambassador of the European Union, Excellency, the Ambassador of Germany, dear President and member of the Board of Commissioners of PT-SMI, dear Pa Edwin and his team from PT-SMI, dear Angela and dear colleague of KFW, our German sister, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of AFD, the Agence Française de Développement, I would like to tell you that I'm really happy to be here with you today to sign the different agreement related to the support of AFD and the EU to PT-SMI. Firstly, because AFD is very pleased about the partnership with PT-SMI, and we're really impressed by the recent achievement of the institution. PT-SMI has been accredited to GCF in 2016. You have issued a first green bond in July 2018. You become member of IDFC, the International Development Finance Club chaired by AFD and counting KFW as one of the founding members. And you have actively participated in the summit Finance in Common mentioned by our ambassador in November 2020. We're very proud to have been one of the first donors to have supported PT-SMI. And you remember that we mobilized the first credit line, a $100 million signed in 2015 during COP21, which has been fully used, and the objective that we set together has been reached. I cannot resist to mention as an example of concrete project funded through this kind of credit line, to mention the biomass to energy project in Sumatra as a real example of what we can do together. To modernize two old sugar cane factory, PT-SMI has financed cogeneration equipment, allowing the use of waste to produce electricity. This is a very good investment since it has reduced the electricity bill of the investor, and a good contribution of the fight against climate change since it has reduced the use of fossil fuel to produce electricity. That was the first credit line, but this kind of concrete investment drive us to jump into a new operation, and I'm happy that we could sign today the EU contribution. This new operation will contribute to new investment on the ground in line with the SDG Indonesia 1 initiative and the Paris Agreement. I remember in October 2018, when Ibu Sri Mulyani launched the SDG Indonesia 1 with PT-SMI, AFD has taken a pledge to mobilize funds to contribute to the initiative. And I'm glad we did it after solid work with your team at PT-SMI and the delegation of the European Union here in Jakarta. EU has approved a €5 million grant, and AFD has mobilized a $150 million concessional loans and an additional 600,000 grant, and we'll sign today the first part with EU. I would like to say that the loan and the grant are part of the same operation, aiming at preparing and financing more investment projects with a limited risk for SMI. The EU grant signed today will be used by SME to prepare projects. We have €3 million for TN capacity building and provide investment grant where necessary to unlock credit, and we'll have €2 million for this investment grant. The credit line will be mobilized by SME to support investment in green infrastructure, meaning renewable energy, public transportation, water, up to your client, but also health infrastructure. And I'm really happy that we could mobilize up to 30% of the credit line for health facility, whatever it could be, extension of hospital or construction of new facility in the context of COVID-19. Finally, I would say that we believe that in this particular context of COVID-19, public support to investment, and you have mentioned the Build Back Better approach, is key in Indonesia, but like in the rest of the world. And we are happy to be on your side with KFW and the European Union for that. So thank you very much, and long live the partnership between Public Development Bank and long live Team Europe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel Baudron. You may return to your seat. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will have a keynote speech from Bapak Isa Rahmat Tarwata, the Director General of State Assets, Ministry of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia, and the keynote speech will be delivered virtually via Zoom.
Excellencies and distinguished representatives of Agence Française de Développement, KFW Banking Group, European Union. It is an honor and pleasure to address this important event as it marks a continuous partnership between the government of Indonesia and AFD KFW. Ladies and gentlemen, as the home for more than 1/4 billion people, Indonesia is the 4th most populous country in the world. It is also the 10th largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity and a member of G20. While poverty eradication remains to be top priority, Indonesia also acknowledges and strives to strike a balance between providing sustainable economic growth and environmental protection efforts. In 2015, ahead of the Paris Agreement, Indonesia submitted its new climate action to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Since then, it has signed and ratified the Paris Agreement and later formally submitted its first nationally determined contribution, or NDC, in 2016. The document reiterates Indonesia's commitment to a low-carbon, climate-resilient future. Indonesia's nationally determined contribution, or NDC, outlines the country's transition to low-carbon and climate-resilient future. The NDC sets out the enhanced actions and the necessary enabling environment during the 2015-2019 period. The document lays the foundation for more ambitious goals beyond 2020, contributing to the concerted effort to prevent a 2 degrees Celsius rise in global average temperature. It also signifies our commitment to pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial level. The challenge is then for Indonesia to consolidate efforts in addressing climate change and its impact by increasing resilience and resistance. Actions need to be carried out on all levels, internationally, nationally, in local and community-based programs. The government of Indonesia, in particular the Ministry of Finance, has taken deliberate steps to address this challenge through several instruments. Just last year, the government issued its first Green Sukuk. It's the world's first sovereign bond exclusively aims to fund climate change efforts in a manner that is compliant with Islamic law. The government also implemented budget tagging to the green sector in ensuring positive outcomes for the environment. The investors thus can be assured that the Green Sukuk funds the implementation of green projects. Currently, we are progressing to a more strategic milestones. Through PT-SMI, a special mission vehicle under Indonesia's Ministry of Finance, we will witness yet another step forward in shaping a resilient and sustainable future. To work together in a strategic partnership with the European Union through KFW Germany and AFD France, it is a great honor. We understand and commend your fierce commitment to concerting mutual efforts to boost sustainable development by providing support. The grant of 21 million euro will certainly assist Indonesia in mobilizing climate change efforts. Through PT-SMI, the fund is funneled through SDG Indonesia 1 as support for infrastructure investment in Indonesia. SDG Indonesia 1 is a platform that consists of 4 pillars: development facilities, de-risking facilities, financing facilities, and equity fund. The platform aims to raise funds from investors, donors, and philanthropic organizations, and channel it to sustainable development goals projects. Projects that become the focus are, among others, regional financing and renewable energy. Hopefully, we will be able to continue these strategic partnerships in years to come. This event marks our joint effort in ensuring that we can provide a better world for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bapak Isa Rahmat Tarwata, for joining us with us today. And ladies and gentlemen, last but certainly not least, Bapak Mahendra Siregar, as the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia and President Commissioner of PT SMI, will also join us virtually and deliver his keynote speech in this event. Bapak Mahendra Siregar, the time is yours.
Ambassador Piquet, Ambassador Peter Schoff, Ambassador Olivier Chambard, Bapak Isa Rahmat Tawarta, Bapak Edwin Saruzat, Ibu Angela Tormin, Emmanuel Baudron, and invited guests and journalists. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Excellencies, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to express our appreciation and thank to colleagues from KFW, AFD, and the EU as our strategic partners in developing our nation's priority projects for a green and sustainable world. And of course, especially during this difficult time. As we are aware, the pandemic has shocked the world. Many countries have been adversely affected, including Indonesia, by the pandemic, as well as the infrastructure sector. Despite these challenging circumstances, PT-SMI can still demonstrate a solid performance, as shown in the company's assets increase from 75.8 trillion rupiah to 82.1 trillion rupiah, and increase in our equity from 36.8 trillion rupiah to 37.4 trillion rupiah. We also noticed that there is still great confidence in investors and project owners in the infrastructure sector. And our commitment for financing infrastructure has grown by 5.1% and is also followed by a growth of a standing 1.3% compared to the previous year. Actually, current situation is different from what we had 20 years ago during the Asian monetary crisis. The government of Indonesia, unlike 20 years ago, would still focus on development of the infrastructure and investment on the infrastructure projects, because we learned the lessons. Once we stop the momentum of infrastructure development and investment, it would take a decade to reinvest and to refocus our attention on this very important and critical sector. In addition, PT-SMI, as one of the SMPs, has been mandated by the government to play an active role in assisting the recovery of the national economy by providing assistance to local governments through Economic Recovery Program, or PEN, PEMDA, this year. The PEN program is carried out to assist the municipal government to continue development which was delayed and rescheduled due to budget reallocation and refocusing. Currently, PTSMI is preparing to await a new assignment regarding institutional transformation, becoming Lembaga Pembiayaan Pembangunan Indonesia, LPPI. This transformation will help accelerate the development of the national economy, including the optimization of government fund and another creative funding to achieve optimal benefits. To be part of the solution to global climate change and sustainable development, the government of Indonesia has endorsed a commitment to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 26% this year and by 29% by 2030. To support this ambitious target, PTSMI has contributed in various development of green and sustainable infrastructure, such as water, renewable energy, urban transport, and waste management infrastructure projects. We will continue to work on increasing our green and sustainable portfolio with an estimated project value of up to 2.4 trillion rupiah in 2023, and also expand the related financing sector with renewable energy and energy efficiency. It is obvious that the only way to recover from this pandemic and to achieve our ambitious targets on climate change and sustainable development portfolio are by working together. By this effort, we can steer the recovery towards a more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable nation. The European Union and its member states has played a critical role in the world on so many levels, not least in concrete efforts to implement climate change and sustainable development agenda. International aid and its willingness is very critical to support this endeavor. And the EU relentless support has been very important for our country for many decades. We are very pleased to be working with the EU, KFW and AFD on this quest to tackle climate change and sustainable development challenges. Through this cooperation agreement among us, we believe that we can support our government in achieving the SDGs in Indonesia by 2030, as well as its commitment for greenhouse gas reduction by 29% in 2030. Again, I would like to thank you on behalf of PTSMI, and it's great to see so many of you here, our strategic partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bapak Mahendra Siregar, for taking your time and joining us with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, let's give one big round of applause for our special event today. And let us move on to the moment we have been waiting for. The signing ceremony in our today's agenda will have three main events. The first, grant agreement between KFW and PT SMI in support for infrastructure investment in Indonesia, or S4I program. Second, the contribution agreement between European Union and AFD to support PT SMI in SDG Indonesia One platform. And the third, grant agreement between AFD and PT SMI to support green investment and SDGs related sectors in SDG Indonesia One platform. And today, PT SMI and the European Union, together with German KFW Development Bank and AFD, are taking concrete steps to work together in achieving sustainable development in Indonesia. And to know more about the cooperation among those institutions, we will give you a moment to watch the following video portraying the partnership between European Union, KFW, AFD, and PT SMI.
Signing ceremony. PT Sarana Multi-Infrastructure Pesero. European Union. Kreditanstalt för Wiederbau, KFW. And Agency Franchise de Development, AFD. Indonesia has committed to reducing unconditionally GHG emissions by 29% against business as usual BAU scenarios and by up to 41% with international assistance. Around $1 billion is needed to develop climate-adjusted infrastructures between 2016 to 2030 to achieve the commitment. As a special mission vehicle under the Ministry of Finance, PT SMI has the mandate as a catalyst in accelerating infrastructure development in Indonesia. PT SMI also focuses on optimizing the infrastructure development for economic and social benefits and supporting the achievement of SDGs and mitigating climate changes. By contributing to the sustainable development and climate resilience through renewable energy, sustainable transport, water and waste management infrastructure projects. To achieve those goals, PT SMI collaborates with international partners to accelerate the advancement in both sustainability efforts and economic development. The European Union and its member states are strategic partners for Indonesia to achieve these ambitious goals, committed to invest in climate action and support the recovery of the economy through AFD and KFW. This synergy will hopefully reduce emissions and achieve climate action targets to provide a better life in Indonesia.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for the video we have already watched. The partnership video between European Union, KFW, AFD and PT SMI. And to make this partnership works, we will mark the beginning of the partnership by having signing ceremony of the related institution. Ladies and gentlemen, we will proceed to our first main agenda, the signing ceremony of grant agreement between PT SMI and KFW. Today, PT SMI and KFW will sign a grant facility agreement amounting to 16 million euro under the Support for Infrastructure Investment in Indonesia, or S4I program, funded by the European Union that aims to promote sustainable investment in municipal development and renewable energy. And distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to invite Bapak Edwin Shahruzad, as the President Director of PT Sarana Multi-Infrastructure Pesero, and Ms. Angela Tormin as Country Director of KFW Indonesia, Jakarta office, to come forward to the stage and to sign the grant agreement between PT SMI and KFW. And due to health protocol, the document will sign one by one to avoid the document exchange. And Bapak Edwin Shahruzad, please sign first. And followed by Ms. Angela Tormin. Oh, apparently we have many documents to sign. And now Ms. Angela Tormin to kindly sign the grant agreement document in the area provided. Okay, all done. All right, ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to both representatives. And as a symbolic indication of the collaboration, I would like to invite Bapak Edwin and also Miss Angela Tormin to move to the front for photography session by showing the signed grant agreement document. All right, thank you very much, Bapak Edwin Sharuzat and Miss Angela Tormin. You may all return to your seat. Thank you and congratulations. And ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our second main agenda, the signing ceremony of contribution agreement between European Union and AFD. The contribution agreement of 5 million euro will accompany AFD's second credit line to PT SMI, amounting to 150 million USD. And this grant support will be channeled to conduct projects preparation activities and or investment premiums to green SDGs project. And distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to invite His Excellency Vincent Piquet as the Ambassador of the European Union to Indonesia and Brunei Darussalam, and Mr. Emmanuel Baudron as Country Director of AFD Indonesia Jakarta office, to kindly come forward to the stage to sign the contribution agreement between European Union and AFD. To His Excellency Vincent Piquet to sign first. Now Mr. Emmanuel Baudron to continue to sign the contribution agreement document. Okay, the signing ceremony is completed. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to both representatives. And now we will have a photography session, maybe in front, sir. Yes, by showing the signed contribution agreement document. Thank you very much, His Excellency Vincent Piquet and Mr. Emmanuel Baudron. And to Mr. Emmanuel Baudron, please kindly remain on the stage as we would like to proceed to the third agenda. His Excellency Vincent Piquet, you may return to your seat, sir. And now moving on to our third main agenda, the signing ceremony of grant agreement between PT SMI and AFD. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to invite Bapak Edwin Sharuzat, President Director of PT Sarana Multi Infrastruktur Persero. And we also like to invite His Excellency Olivier Chambard as the Ambassador of France to Indonesia to kindly join us here. Bapak Edwin will do the first sign. And ladies and gentlemen, as the continuation of contribution agreement, which has been signed a while ago between European Union and AFD, the grant support from European Union will be channeled to PT SMI through AFD's second credit line amounting to 150 million USD. And this will support to PT SMI in the form of investment premiums, which aims to stimulate the financing of investment to specific projects sponsored by higher financial barriers and SDG development facilities, which will assist PT SMI in project preparation. Green and health infrastructures will be targeted. And the signing ceremony is completed. And as a symbolic indication of the collaboration, I would like to invite His Excellency Olivier Chambard, Mr. Emmanuel Baudron, and Bapak Edwin to kindly move to the front to take a photography session by showing the signed contribution agreement document. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, let us put our hands together for this strategic partnership. Thank you very much, His Excellency Olivier Chambard, Mr. Emmanuel Baudron, and Bapak Edwin Charuzat. To Mr. Emmanuel Baudron and Bapak Edwin Charuzat, please kindly stay on the stage as we would like to proceed to the next session of presenting the token of appreciation from PT SMI to honorable institutions. And ladies and gentlemen, further, we would like to invite to join on the stage His Excellency Vincent Piquet, as the Ambassador of the European Union to Indonesia and Brunei Darussalam, and Ms. Angela Tormin as the Country Director of KFW Indonesia, Jakarta office. And now Bapak Edwin will have the honor to give the token of appreciation to our honorable institutions, to Mr. Emmanuel Baudron. The next token of appreciation from Ms. Angela Tormin. And to His Excellency Vincent Piquet. Let's take a quick photo. And now, EU or European Union, on behalf of AFD and KFW, would like to give a token of appreciation to PT SMI. And also again, we would like to invite His Excellency Olivier Chambard to give the token of appreciation to PT SMI as well. All right, now we will have a group photo, and we also like to invite Bapak Darwin Trisna Jayawinata as the Operation and Finance Director of PT SMI, and also Bapak Muhammad Gosi Indra Dalel as Project Development and Advisory Director of PT SMI to join us on the stage, and Mr. Thomas Grove as the Representative Ambassador of Germany. Okay, now we will have maybe 2 or 3 poses, okay, ladies and gentlemen. The first one with a mask, okay? But don't forget to give your smile with your eyes. It's called SMICE. Yeah, smile with your eyes. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the next pose will be without the mask. Okay, don't forget to give your best smile. Smile to the camera. And maybe for the last pose, maybe you can give your thumbs up. All right, for our success and for our health in the future. Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, let's give one big round of applause. Once again, congratulations for the collaboration, for the strategic partnership, and we hope that this partnership will run well and smooth and benefits many people and also benefits the infrastructure projects. Thank you very much. And now we will have a Q&A session. We would like to ask to kindly on the stage His Excellency Vincent Piquet, Ms. Angela Tormin, Mr. Emmanuel Baudron, and Bapak Edwin Shahruzan to keep on the stage. We are moving to our last session, which is the Q&A session, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the Q&A? Yes? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to our last session, the Q&A session. And during the whole today's session, we have received a number of questions from our participant in the ballroom as well and virtually via Zoom platform. And this Q&A session will last maximum for 20 minutes, and we will have a few questions picked from the application to AFD, KFW, to EU and PT SMI. And now we have the first session. We have the first three questions from Compass. The first one is to AFD and KFW. Is there any typically infrastructure projects funded through this agreement? Ms. Angela Tormin or Mr. Emmanuel Baudron, maybe you can answer this question. Would you kindly please to come closer to the microphone, please? Yes.
Take the mask off maybe for answering. Thank you very much. I mean, today is the start of implementation. I mean, we signed today, we'll start working tomorrow. So far nothing has been defined. However, we know it's going to be climate relevant projects in renewable energy and urban environment. That is the kind of projects that we will be funding or preparing through this facility now that has been provided by the EU. And everything in more detail will be discussed with PT-SMI starting tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much. And Mr. Emmanuel, would you like to add something?
Yes, what will be funded through this facility will be, as we have mentioned, SDG and climate change project investment, meaning investment that will address double impact, economic and social growth. So that need to be useful for the country and for the development right now, and also to tackle climate change. Typically, all projects in the renewable energy, hydropower, biomass to energy, any other investment that the investor would like to go in could be supported by this facility, but also public transportation, which is good for the country and good for the climate change. So there's a list of criteria but all the projects that the client of PT-SMI would like to submit will be reviewed by SME, and SME could mobilize this facility to prepare them.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Emmanuel. Ms. Angela Tormin, thank you. And the second question is for PT SMI. The question is, which regions will be supported by the collaboration of PT SMI and KFW?
Okay, thank you very much. Today we signed a grant agreement whereby PT-SMI obtained a grant support from AFD and KFW, and there are two types of grant. First is for technical assistance, facilitating financing, primarily for the public finance, lending to the municipalities, so that the grant will be utilized for project preparation. Of course, as mentioned by Emmanuel and Angela, the project must be in the area related to renewable, green, and SDGs. Okay, that is the essential aim of the grant. And since it is the grant dedicated for public finance, it applies for all local government, but the project must be in the context of SDGs, such as water and utilities, public transportation, solid waste management, and I think projects within the authority of the local governments.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Edwin. And how was the commitment of PT SMI to support the renewable energy sector and SDGs achievement in Indonesia?
I think as mentioned by our President Commissioners before on his speech, we are committed to the renewable energy sectors and SDGs investments as attributed by our achievement so far, in our financing and investment activities to achieve SDGs goals. I think with the availability of grant, the second type of grant, which is going to be complementing financing and investment to the private and BUMN, I think it will empower our modality of financing and investment to support renewable energy sectors and SDG achievement in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you very much, Bapak Edwin. And back to Ms. Angela Tormin and also Mr. Emmanuel. We have a question from the online media. The first question is, what is the mechanism of this grant funding and how to access this grant?
Maybe I start. The mechanism is first that the EU has made an agreement with KFW Development Bank and has entrusted us with 16 million euros for this particular facility that is going to be managed through KFW. And we have today signed the agreement which is leading it on to PT-SMI. And now comes a process that we will be discussing exactly who is eligible to access for what. This is something we will have to discuss now, exactly what's the criteria and how is the access to these grants. That's the next step.
Okay. Mr. Emmanuel?
Yes, the most important thing is that the client of PT-SMI need to see with them and to present their project. This is not AFD will decide the use of fund, but PT-SMI. There's two parts that we discussed with EU and PT-SMI. One is to develop projects. So there is one part of the 5 million euro facility dedicated to feasibility studies that PT-SMI would consider to be important for a project mature enough, but would like maybe some environment and social additional study or technical feasibility study to make the project really feasible. And there's another part which is really interested, and I'm happy that EU follows on that, is the de-risking mechanism, is the capacity to mobilize a premium grant for those of the project would have a big impact on the ground, but maybe lack a bit of credit assessment and on which we could have a credit plus a small part of grant. This is the additional support brought by EU for this particular project that will have a high impact, but for which the credit rating would be just under the threshold. It's not about financing projects that are not feasible or not have impact. It's really to promote those who are nearly at the level.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel and Ms. Angela Tormin. And now for His Excellency PK, what is the purpose of this grant to Indonesia? As we all know that the amount is so huge, sir. What is the purpose?
Well, thank you. Thank you. No, the purpose is that the EU wishes to support Indonesia in its response to the pandemic, to help strengthen the social infrastructure of this country, to help strengthen some of the hospital, the healthcare infrastructure in this country, and to make these institutions stronger to deal with the crisis, to render services to the public, and to make them stronger for whatever comes next, for other crises that are in the future to be expected. So that is one thing, a statement of EU support, EU as body, but also EU as EU member states, all together, Team Europe, we work together in helping Indonesia and other countries in Southeast Asia to do that. And the second dimension, I would say, is very much to promote a sustainable economic and social recovery, a green recovery. We cannot forget the climate crisis while we fight the pandemic. So the focus is very much in promoting lending to and investment in renewable energy, in green transport, in green infrastructure, green urban construction, housing, and so forth. And that will help Indonesia meet its SDGs 2030, and it will also help it meet the commitments under the Paris Accord for climate global action against climate change. Why is the grant so big? Three reasons. Indonesia is a major partner for the EU at all levels, already now and certainly for the future. B, the needs are big, that is demonstrated, we have studied that. And we believe in the strength of and the capability of institutions like PT SMI and SDG Indonesia, one platform to deliver the money to deliver the projects. And C, we expect that the grants will lever a lot of money for investment. So we have calculated that with the colleagues of KFW and AFD as being up to 500 million euros. So 20 million euros of grants leading to 500 million euros of investment, and that's a major job.
Okay, thank you very much. And Ms. Angela Tormin would like to add something? Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the question why a grant is a very pertinent question in a country as advanced as Indonesia. So it's great that somebody asked this question. But I think the answer lies also in who's the beneficiary, the final beneficiary of all this money, this funding. And it is local governments, and it's probably local governments not that experienced in doing the kind of work. I mean, it's very easy to say, let's build a sewage treatment plant, let's invest in that. But how do you do that actually? And so this grant, they will be supported in learning how to do environmental assessment, feasibility studies, social assessments, and so on. Many of them will do it for the first time, we assume, and that is why grant and not out of the loan. We hope in the end this will create loans, yeah, and lending. So the local governments will also get some support out of this grant too, to strengthen their own capabilities.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Angela Tormin. Well, this one is the last question from the media, and the media really wants to know about the terms and condition. Okay, terms and condition for the for access for this grant. Any terms and condition, maybe?
again, it will depend on their project, and it will depend on the assessment of PTSMI. Don't come to AFD to this grant will be for PTSMI to develop their operation. But I guess if you have a good project tackling social and economic development and addressing climate change at the same, you might have the ear of PTSMI. But it's more to PTSMI to respond about that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I think there are two types of grants, as I mentioned before. The one is for project preparation, which is primarily dedicated for next public finance, which is loan to local government. That one is from our side. We are happy to obtain this grant because we can, together with the local government, prepare projects in a much better way. And the second type of grant is what Emmanuel has mentioned. It is the grant linked to investment, and this is primarily dedicated for business, our private clients, so that the grant could be the element of de-risking. Yeah, in such way, it will encouraging finance and investment to that particular sector, which is primarily aim of this objective. Yeah. SDG, green, renewable, and etc.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's end the Q&A session. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for the explanation regarding the strategic partnership. And we also like to thank all the journalists, all the media for all the participation and for all the questions. Thank you. You may all return to your seats, sir. Ma'am. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And we have reached at the end of our agenda, ladies and gentlemen. And as the saying goes, to every beginning, there is an ending. And now the ceremony has come to its end. And once again, thank you everyone for gracing our ceremony with your presence. And we highly appreciate your attendance physically and virtually on this signing ceremony. And on behalf of the organizing committees, I would like to apologize for any mistakes throughout the event. And I will end my duty as the host for today's event. Thank you once again, and everyone is invited for a tea in the hall. Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen, and have a pleasant evening.